Quick note for you horror hounds, we had tons of issues with mine and Xylia's audio. You will notice this whole episode that the audio is skipping and words are getting cut out. We wanted to still make this episode available to everyone, as we kind of thought there's still a lot of interesting conversation going on, and we wanted to make sure that you got to hear, at least to the best of our abilities, that conversation. Unfortunately, it seems the skipping, it was only me and Xylia's audio, and it lasted the whole episode. Fortunately, we did record another episode this week, and the audio is fixed. So if you find the skipping unbearable and can't listen, it's all good. We understand. If you do get to listen to it, hopefully you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed recording it. I think we have the issues worked out, so fingers crossed. As always, thanks for the support, and let's get back to the podcast. When Rihanna sang Disturbia, she may very well have been talking about this suburbia. Tonight we review 2019's Vivarium.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store. Back where it says horror videos and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Monmouth and a Fletcher.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal. We have such sights to show you.
We've got to return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
It's Xylia.
And this is the pen you left in your favorite pair of pants when you put it in the washer, Mike.
And we are back, the first episode of 2021. Hopefully it's a little better than 2020, but so far, it's not. So
far, maybe worse.
Our friends in the States are eating themselves as a country. I feel like I'm watching a Romero movie.
I was watching live footage last night, and I literally said to Rowan, "This doesn't feel real. Like it just feels like I'm watching a show."
But let's talk about something happy.
I mean, the worst show of all time,
Yeah.
let's face it.
Yeah, it's getting so bad, I'm just tired of it, because it's...
I just think it's really, I do have one comment. I think it's really interesting that people are like, this is so un-American. This is like the epitome of America, because being able to do that is literally like the core value of like their whole governmental system.
This is true.
It is, yeah. It's not American. It's 100% capital A American.
Yeah.
So, let's get into something a little happier. Which
like
is
this movie.
which is the question of the episode. And since we're doing Vivarium, and I think a real big theme is houses, I want to know, what is your guys' ideal house?
Like from a movie, or just like in
just
general?
Your dream house. Maybe it's from a movie, maybe it's not. Let's start with you, Xylia.
Well, I have two types of dream houses, and they're both in the town I live in. So, one is this, like, ultra modern house, and it's, like, this huge house. It's right on, like, a corner of the main street here in the town we live in, and, yeah, like, it doesn't, like, fit in the area at all. It's so modern. Everybody knows that house just because it's, like, very polarizing. And it just has this huge, like, window in the side, but it's on the main road with this massive circular light. It's very minimalist. And then my other dream house, also on Main Street in our town, but on the other side, is this, like, huge Victorian house, and it's white with, like, a light pink trim. Whoever lived in it, like, let it go to shit, and they just sold it, and it's, like, a flipper's dream, because it would probably be about like $800,000, but because it's needs to be like completely redone, it was like $350.
Why would a dolphin want a house?
What? A
flippers.
flipper.
A house flipper, yes.
Like
okay.
house flipper.
Carry on.
The joke was up here, Xylia was down here.
I've had a couple dayliners. Like, don't I mean, you're not judging me, but like...
Would never judge.
It doesn't make sense. If I could just like completely renovate that and redo it to make it like modern with like the Victorian outside. Oh, I love that. Also, I put this on Instagram, but Leslie Nielsen's house in Creepshow, the decor is just
spot on.
So mid-century modern, but it's like early 80s.
Well, let's go to you, Mike. Ideal home.
That's a tough one because, as we all know, with X and I, like, architecture and decor and layout are our passions. We are obsessed. We love them. I honestly don't even know what to say because there's so many, but one that has always like kind of just stood out to me for some bizarre reason that I've always wanted is in Dario Argento's opera. And actually, a lot of my ideal, like, apartments and houses come from Dario Argento movies, but one in particular that just... I don't know why it struck me. There was something about it, like the layout and the visual aesthetic of it that really pleased me, is the opera singer's apartment that she lives in opera.
Yeah.
I've always loved that. And another one is in Argento's Tenebrae. There's this scene where one of the characters... You know, she lives in this giant house with her roommate, and it's a really angular, bizarrely laid out house, and the camera kind of goes around the outside of it. It's a very, very ultra-modern, like, artistic, you know, like, architectural nightmare, and inside it's, like, really kind of cool and sleek and minimalist and white, and I just really like the bizarre layout of that as well. But definitely, I always love apartments for some weird reason. It's always like, I'm an apartment person.
I wonder if it's because you like grew up in a city.
It probably, yeah.
And we didn't. Because I feel like here, when we were growing up, like everybody had a house. Apartments, like there were like a couple apartments, but not very many people lived in them. So to us, like apartments aren't really like the norm. But if you grew up in a city and apartments are like, you know, that's just where people live.
Yeah, and I mean, I grew up in a house, but it was an attached house, so it was a small one, so frankly, a lot of times it felt like an apartment because the next door neighbors were on top of us and in our house and complaining about the noise, so. And
I just want, just because here, like, you would want a house, that's just the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Whereas in a city... having a house is like, some people live in, apartments, people live in apartments their whole lives, and like that's like completely acceptable. You know what I mean? Not that it's something bad, that's not what I'm meaning at all.
No.
But it's like, that's just like a part of your lifestyle there.
Truth. What about you, Ro?
I'm not overly fussy, I feel.
You're like, I like houses.
I like houses. If I can live in one, that would be great. If I can afford one, that'd be great.
Yeah.
A man of true discerning taste, clearly.
That's right. My thing's always been space, so I always tell Xylia, like, whenever we're ready to buy a house, like, I really want a finished basement, because I need, like, place to podcast, I need, like, a media room.
And this is my issue.
I also need, like, all my Blu-rays and my comic books.
If I lived by myself, I would totally live in like a condo, apartment, tiny house forever. But I live with Rowan, and Rowan accumulates so many things, and I like to have space.
It's very true.
Yeah.
In terms of like style, like I love the look of like, I like old, like Victorian looking, like gothic outside. Inside's even better.
Yeah, I love a good like Tudor, honestly, myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to feel like, you know, it's haunted and someone killed themselves.
The mansion from your next is always a fave.
You know, mine is house. Just kidding.
Oh, I mean, of course.
As long as Blanche comes with it.
Oh, we already have a Blanche.
That's right. So let's get in to our film for the evening. Let's start the trailer. So Vivarium from 2019, and we'll be right back.
Okay, here we go.
Welcome to Yonder, a wonderful development. It has all you'd need and all you'd want. Number 9. Number 9 is not a starter home. This house is forever.
Lee for a boy?
Do you have children?
No. It's not exactly what we're looking for.
That guy was so strange.
Yeah. Wait. No, I don't think this is the right way.
Yeah, this is the way we came in.
Number 9 again. Did we just do some kind of loop?
How have we just...
Want me to drive?
Such a jerk.
Because I think this is not possible. We can't make turns like this over and over.
We have gone this way, Tom. Oh my god. Hello?
What's happening? Maybe they'll let us go.
What if they don't come? What are we supposed to do? Should we just sit here and we wait to die? It's a boy.
Give a little time for the child within you. Don't be afraid to be young and free. Run to the locks and throw away the keys and
All we wanted
run you.
was a home.
You are home.
You creepy little mutant.
The letterbox bio says, "You're home forever." A young woman and her fiancé are in search of the perfect starter home. After following a mysterious real estate agent to a new housing development, the couple finds themselves trapped in a maze of identical houses and forced to raise an otherworldly child.
So it is directed by Lorcan Finnegan. I think I actually got a name right.
Lorcan, that's interesting.
Lorcan Finnegan. And there's not really much to say. I looked up. It seems like he's pretty widely acclaimed, but has only done shorts. I think he has like one other full-length movie, and the rest of his stuff is like 3 minutes long. I'm kind of considering this his first kind of bigger movie. Mike, why don't you start off with an actor from the movie who's in it?
Okay, well, I was going to say one of the main actors, but really one of the only actors in it, because it's pretty sparsely cast, for a feature-length movie. But it is, one of the, leads, Imogen Poots. We love her. She's been in a ton of things, and I mean a ton. Some genre stuff like 28 Weeks Later and Green Room.
Oh, yeah.
She was on that show Roadies. She was also starred in a revival of one of my favorite plays of all time, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. So she's got her fingers in everything. She does, a little bit of film, a little bit of television, some theater. I mean, she's a real Renaissance woman, and she was also in the newest Black Christmas, which I still haven't seen, so I don't know what her role is in that.
Yeah. She was like the lead character.
Yeah, we'll review it someday, I'm sure.
Oh, we will.
Yeah.
I look forward to it, because I can't wait. All the Black Christmases have something to offer. This one will be no different. I just know it. I know it.
I love her aesthetic. That's like me. I wish I could pull off that haircut.
She actually did, even I feel like the outfits that she wore in this, I have pictures of you wearing the exact same thing.
I'm pretty sure. The blue work.
I was going to say the button-up blue shirt, with the sleeves rolled up, is 100% something that you have worn many times. I have photos full of you wearing that
I
exact
most
shirt.
definitely wore that shirt every day that I lived in St. John's.
And Your hair is the same length, so you're just like Imogen Poots is like double.
Oh, I
I'm
wish.
just saying. Which no, she's your double.
She's
You
my
came
double.
first.
So I'll go next. I guess I've picked the other main lead, which is Jesse Eisenberg, which I feel like most people are probably pretty familiar with. He has, kind of had his foot in horror before, with Zombieland and the Zombieland sequel, which was actually just watched the Zombieland sequel, and I thought it was pretty funny.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was cute.
It was definitely cute.
I can't wait to see
also
it. Yeah.
in The Village, throwback there. And then, I guess some other, notable stuff. American Ultra. Obviously, he's kind of part of the DC universe with Batman versus Superman and Justice League. And then I thought also being up that he was in The Art of Self-Defense. Both of them were actually the lead in that. So this is the second movie that
I've never heard of that.
Starred together in. I've never seen it. I've seen the poster. I don't think I've ever even seen a trailer for it. But yeah, that was my pick for the actor.
Wait, did you say The Social Network? Or
No,
did
I definitely blew past. I guess.
How dare you blow past a David Fincher movie while I'm on the call? I can't believe you would do that. That's
I am
personal
sorry.
attack.
I actually have never seen The Social Network, but I guess that should be brought up. That's kind of important.
It was only one of his breakout films. Anyway.
No, that's
sorry, I just had to throw that out.
That's his most popular movie on there.
So, Xylia, how about you go?
So, I think I'm saying his last name properly, maybe. Jonathan Aris? It looks like Aris. So, I've never seen these two, but I will mention them. One, because I feel like if I don't mention it, people will be upset. But he was in Star Wars Rogue One.
Probably one of my favorite Star Wars films.
Did I see that?
I don't even like Star Wars that much, and I loved that movie.
Yeah, I kept telling you that you should see it because it's shot like a horror film, not Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's great.
Also, the lead actress was fantastic.
I'll have to watch that. He was also in The Martian, which I feel like is a popular movie, but maybe I just have a warped perception because I worked at a bookstore when the book came out.
Oh my goodness, he's in a lot of things that we like.
Yeah.
I never noticed. I knew he looked familiar, but...
He's in Black Mirror Bandersnatch.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because obviously, whoever wrote this definitely watched Black Mirror.
Oh, it's very Black Mirror, yeah.
Black Mirror. He plays Crispin, which I couldn't remember who that was, but I guess it was one of the game show people. I vaguely remember a game show. And I told Rowan, I gotta go back and watch that. And then finally, he was in End of the Fucking World, which is adapted from a literary novel, but it's so good. I love
one of our
that
faves.
show. And he was the fucking shitty, creepy, terrible professor. And the second I saw him, I was like, okay,
but the scenes with him were so well done. It was so well done, yeah.
Yeah, he was amazing in it.
The second I saw him on here, I was like, what is he in? He's definitely in something else where he played a creep. And then lo and behold,
he was indeed a creep.
He was.
Well, and I kind of screwed up because when we first saw him, I kept saying, I was like, I told Xylia, I thought he was the guy from Vacancy.
Oh, and I was like, definitely not.
Yeah, I feel like the first couple shots of him, I was like, he kind of looks like him, with contacts in, and he doesn't have glasses on and stuff.
Rowan does that a lot. He's always like, oh, that's that person. I'm like, it's definitely not. What were we watching? Oh yeah, 40-Year-Old Virgin? Is that what it was?
I don't know, yes. Every movie I'm like that.
Yeah, but the other day he was watching it and he was like, that's Stormy Daniels. I was like, that's 100% not Stormy Daniels. They have blonde hair and they look like porn stars, but they're not both the same person.
You weren't confusing Leslie Mann for Stormy Daniels, were you?
No.
That would be very embarrassing. So let's talk about first experiences. Is this our first time watching it? Xylia, you go.
Yeah, this was my first time watching it. I think I might have briefly mentioned this at the end of the last episode. But Heather McGill, or as I like to say, Heather McKill, was watching this and posted on Instagram, and I was like, OMG, gotta see it. Here I am. This is the first time I've seen it.
How about you, Mike?
Yeah, the viewing for this was my first time watching it. I had remembered vaguely hearing tell of it. I sort of, I could remember that the two of them were in a, sort of slightly dystopic sci-fi thriller, but that's really all I knew about it. And yeah, I just rolled up and put her on, and the rest is history.
And yeah, same as Xylia. I mean, I don't see much without Xylia. This was my first time. I definitely heard about it. One of our friends, Dustin, has raved about this since he saw it when it first came out, and was just like, I think you guys really like it. You really gotta watch it. And I know he kind of rooted for us to review it a couple times. He's like, you guys, I think you just...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the trailer, on just, Apple trailers when I was looking, and I remember seeing the trailer and being like, oh, that kind of looks interesting, and then just kind of totally forgetting about it, and, hearing the name and not really putting the images and the words together. So yeah, this was my first time. Before we get into the full-out review, we do have to do the Bechdel test.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know what the Bechdel test, because you haven't heard our podcast before, it is a non-scientific but social. I'm gonna say it's a socially scientific, basically, test to see how one-dimensional women are portrayed as in movies. So, are there more than one women? Are there
more than one women?
Is there more than one woman in a scene? And do they talk about something other than man? Are they named? And then my dimension is the intersectionality component to it. So are they just a white, able-bodied, straight, etc. person in it, a woman in it? I mean, there's one woman in this whole movie.
Well, two.
Who's the other person?
When she,
how dare you? When she falls in the pocket,
right? Oh yes, that 10 seconds of the other woman being in there. I totally forgot. So, I mean, you can't really do it on that. I've come to the realization after Dead End in this movie, any movies that it's you're trapped somewhere, it's not gonna pass just on principle, basically. But I mean, she wasn't really overly fawning over him. It's just not a good movie for the test, I feel. I mean, the only thing they could really do better was not have just white people, and also maybe the person at maybe the real estate agent could have been a woman. How else do you really improve?
Yeah,
it's just such a minimal cast.
Yeah, when we get into it, I have some thoughts.
Okay. I mean, and to be fair, it could have been a lesbian couple as the main,
Oh, sorry, Mike, you go first.
No, that was it. I'm just throwing that out there. There was always ways to improve.
I think I think it's intentional. I'll also get into that later, but I feel like the rest part is intentional because it's the suburbs.
Yes,
you
well,
always
of course.
Associate it with white people.
White, boring. Well, and it's true, because he does, when they go into the office at the beginning, he does make a very concerted effort to say there's a variety, we have diversity.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's the idea of white flight. It's white people move to the suburbs because they want to be segregated. Not
after gentrifying,
yeah,
marginalized spaces.
Yeah, and it's not as overt in terms of wanting to be segregated as probably in the 50s, but it's a thing. And then I have another idea about the construction of the family, I guess, but sorry, Rowan.
No, I was gonna say, normally, we always talk about we don't really, we don't do things linear, we don't do all that. But I thought about when I watched this, I was like, we could definitely, for 30 seconds, pretty much, explain the premise of, this couple. They're interested in buying a house, starting a family. They meet a weird guy. They go to...
He's a real estate agent.
a real estate agent, kind
Loosely.
of. Loosely.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's...
And basically get dropped in a suburb of, like, everything looks the same, and they get trapped and stuck in the suburb and forced to raise a boy.
Well, it's interesting. Okay, I feel like I can't get into all this because...
All right, well, let's ask the first question. We know it's going to come up. Favorite scene / favorite kill. Mike, you start us off.
Well, kills... I'm gonna say, spoiler alert, there's not much in the way of that, so I feel like that in itself is a little non-existent, and so I'll just skip over that. But favorite scene, honestly, was when she jumps down the, like, fold.
Yeah.
Because I thought that there was sort of intentional, subtle nods to, like, as everything that kind of does this dystopic, like, parallel, bizarre universe tends to do, like, nods to Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. But yeah. I thought that was a really interesting moment where they did it on, like, it was very purposeful and explicit, because, you know, he's wearing that, like, white Mormon shirt when she goes chasing after him into that little, and she just barely, you know, it's like Alice chasing the white rabbit, and she's literally falling down, you know, like, falling down the rabbit hole. And I just thought that was really cool. And it was the first time in, like, an hour that we see other people, so it was also a relief, because it was starting to get, like, wear a little thin, you know, with just these couple of characters. So that was my favorite part. I just thought it was really well done. I loved the nod to Alice in Wonderland. You know.
And that scene I thought that scene, like, it looked great, like, how it kind of,
yeah,
like...
the lighting.
As she dropped down, it's, like, a different color, and it's very, like, techno-colored. And I also loved, like, just kind of because they're doing, like, very, like, weird effects with the camera and stuff, so it's like you're almost on this, like, LSD acid trip, like... Things are kind of waving, and it's just, like, really trippy, and I liked how kind of uneasy it made you feel, like, and she's falling in these weird positions, and, like, sliding into the floor, or, like, falling into a wall.
Or, like, a shower stall.
Yeah, and it was just, like... Yeah, I agree, that scene was amazing.
Yeah.
Xylia, how about you?
I also really liked that scene. Another scene I really liked was when they have their car on, like, the lights and stuff, and they realize the radio works, and they get out and dance, and then the boy comes and dances with them before, like, the whole, like, hitting their head on the sidewalk, the whole fucking thing. But yeah, like, I feel like that's just, like, a moment where they all seem just, like, very, like, carefree humans. Movie that's very bogged down with, like, enemy, basically.
Yeah, it's that, like, moment of reprieve.
Yeah.
The, like, break in the tension.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, and I was gonna say, so I'm gonna be a little different. I did have I guess I don't really think you can call it, like, kill.
Can I say one for it? Sorry, there's one other part I really like, and it's just when they are, like, give him the finger, and he gives them the finger back. It's just so simple, but I just love something about that scene.
Well, I don't even remember that scene.
You do love Bird. They're lying in
bed.
Oh,
yeah, at the beginning, like, when he first, like,
yeah.
child, I guess.
I feel like sometimes we don't have kids, but, like, I feel like if you did, sometimes you just might feel like doing that to your kids.
Well, I was gonna say I did have, like, a favorite kill / death scene. I love the like, the very ending when the new Martin is taking over and they put him in the bag and then he just, like, rolls him up and then
like
puts
a
him in the
roll.
Yeah,
and then puts him in the filing cabinet
with a little tag, like, return to sender, return to Walmart.
Yeah.
And then I also, like, I cracked up. I really enjoyed when she's dying, and then she's, like, whispering, and then he's like, what'd you say? And then she's just like, I'm not your fucking mother.
And then he's like, whatever.
Whatever. And it's like, oh, typical kid.
I love that. Yeah. And it's just, like, because everything he says is, like, stuff he learns from them.
Yeah.
And that's something she would always say. It was really well, like, positioned, I feel, too.
Yeah, so I'll put those as my my favorite, I guess, kills, even though, you know, they died, I guess. So let's get in, let's get in and talk about this. I think we should get right into it because Xylia kind of brushed into it. Like, I know when I watched it, I really enjoyed, not kind of the suburban metaphor that we see in so many films where, every conformity and everything's the same and everything looks the same, which like a trope a lot. I definitely thought, I think you and Mike started to talk about it, about the fact that the cast isn't diverse, which I think was very purposeful, especially, we do get that line when they first enter, like, the door, and he talks about, like, how diverse it's gonna be, like, oh, this is gonna be a very diverse community, and all different kinds of people. And, I feel like at face value, someone might be like, oh, well, like, it's a joke because these are, like, the raising, like, this alien, essentially. But I thought it was interesting because, like you said, Xylia, about just, like, white spreading and just how maybe subconsciously, it's not diverse, but people don't really think about that.
See, what the first thing I thought when I started watching this movie, and as I got maybe 20 minutes into it, is Enemy and Durkheim. And just because the number one used example when you're talking about Enemy is the suburbs and living in the suburbs. And basically losing, because his whole thing was people need rituals, all society, and if they don't have that, then there's no norms. And if there's no norms, then there's no meaning. And in his study on suicide, one of the types of suicide he talks about is anomie related. You just feel like you have no purpose, no meaning in life. I think to me it's
which I think we saw when she's dropping down in the hole. I mean,
you see it the whole time that it's just this very nuclear family with the kid, if you say that. They're just this really standard suburban family, basically 8 typically. And I think to me, the thing just feels it's just the whole thing is about anomie, basically.
No, you're right, because when you talk about rituals, and there's nobody else with them, he begins that ritual of just digging every day.
Because
that's his purpose. He just does it to exhaustion.
Yeah. That's his purpose in life. And when she was oh, do you need help? And he was just no, I can do it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I sort of got those whiffs of, all those sociologists while I was watching it. And, oh my God, the anomie, that's spot on. It's
I know. I was just definitely.
Were they reading this while they were writing the screenplay?
Somewhere down the line, influenced by Durkheim, for sure.
So you're saying that universities should just start watching this movie when your intro to Soc class is doing Durkheim.
I mean, we watched American Beauty when I learned first about Durkheim.
Yeah,
because American Beauty is there's a lot of scenes that are a prime example.
Yeah, well, and like you said, this kind of has everything about the anomie and the suicide stuff, because like I said, when she drops in the hole, we see the guy
he committed
suicide because they obviously have been doing the same thing, and
life becomes monotonous, right? It's what's the point? And I just feel that's a bit, it's also interesting because the name of the movie is Vivarium, and I knew when I think of that word, I know a general broad idea of what it is, but when I looked it up, it was talking about how it's basically an enclosed structure where you watch animals or people live life in a semi environment, basically.
Well, that even seems like a sociological experiment.
100%. That's 100% a social science, sociology, psychological experiment. But who's the experimenter?
That's right. Well, and I have a fun fact about that I read on IMDb, which I did want to bring up, I guess, before I do the fun fact, is I thought it's definitely the note that this might be one of my favorite beginnings to a movie, just because it was, so bizarre and settling.
It kind of makes sense, though. I don't exactly know, but there's something going on with, so there were two... Okay.
Let me talk about this first, the fact, and then we can discuss it more. So, on IMDb, the basically it says the opening sequence displays activities of an avian bird brood parasite, which are organisms that rely on others to raise their young.
Yeah.
The brood parasite manipulates a host, either of the same or of another species, to raise its young as if it were its own, using brood mimicry. For example, by having eggs or pudgy, weird babies that resemble the hosts. This behavior leaves the parasitic parents from the investment of rearing young. Some bird species mitigate the risk of egg loss by distributing eggs among a number of different hosts.
It's really interesting. But yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking about, because I was thinking, like, the bird that pushed 2 babies out of the nest is like that guy.
Yeah.
And the baby birds are like them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, let's be realistic. Once this baby that shows up at their doorstep is a child, we all wish we could push it.
98 days later.
Yeah, 90 days later, we all wish we could push out of something and that it could fall. I feel like I
felt kind of bad for it. Like, for her to always be like, I'm not your fucking mother.
Did you feel bad for it, Mike? I didn't really feel bad.
Not really. I'm not gonna lie. I was not rooting for it, and I was like, I can't. It's like, and they kept trying to like dehumanize it by calling it. But then I'm like, you can't dehumanize something that's not human. But then, I thought there was a lot of interesting things at play in terms of like what do you consider, like, does it have to be the same species for it to be a parent, but also
Absolutely
like they
not.
didn't ask for it, and you know what I mean? And I thought there were a lot of interesting questions raised, but I'm not gonna lie, like, purely on a like narrative and emotional level, I just did not feel bad for that child.
Did you want to punch that child right in the face?
But he mimicked the parents, so...
I don't care if you're
it's the
mimicking your
parents.
quote-unquote parents. I don't care if you have that creepy-ass voice going on.
The voice was really unsettling.
Like,
but of
It's like
course,
a
I
child.
think that they were manipulating us as well, in terms of they were firing up our emotions one way and the other, because you do feel that, like, oh, like the child didn't ask for this, but then you're like, neither did they, and then you're like, but parents in reality don't, and children, you know what I mean? And I just thought they are very clearly trying to like fire up your negative emotions toward the child too, and then sort of like dull them down a bit. And I thought that was really interesting, that like they're really playing that up, and that it gets you a bit more invested.
It's really interesting too, and I don't know whether this is just like it just happened because it's our culture or if it was intentional, but Tom, Jesse Eisenberg, like, had no way about this kid, where she was like, fuck you, I'm not your fucking mother, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, she was seen like, that's like such a mother thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's like such a woman, like, traditional.
Yeah, and I feel like they were trying to pick at that, right? Like, at first, it's like saying just because she's a woman doesn't mean she has to automatically like fall into this like maternal instinct. But then showing that, like, she's also got like a nurturing side. So again, they're like kind of pulling you in both directions. But then she goes back on it and she's like,
yeah, and I was gonna say, like,
I
felt that too. Like, they were definitely pulling at that strain about like gender and roles, and like you said, like, Tom is kind of like, even though he goes to work, he comes back, nothing to do with the kid, he goes to bed.
Yeah.
And she, her role pretty much 20 minutes is like, take care of the kid, make some meals, has sex with him.
Of course,
and
I mean, it's
then
very
that's it.
clearly like a parody / critique of the typical suburban gender bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And I thought they did a really interesting job. I kept finding myself trying to not Tom.
I hated him.
But they kind of make you hate. But I'm like, I felt like, oh, I shouldn't hate them. Like, they're going crazy. They're trapped in this place. I should be kind of rooting for them. But I just thought they did this really good job where I felt conflicted about it. Because I'm like, he's an asshole. And like,
but you're like, maybe I would be too.
Yeah, and you're like, but he's under like this immense pressure. They both are. Like,
yeah, but she's not an asshole like that.
No, not at all. And I just thought it was interesting because, you know, realistically, even at the end of the film, I had to think about, was the child and are these species of whatever they are they the villain, or was Tom the villain of the film?
Well, I found that so interesting. It's like a microcosm, right? Of sort of this suburban experience. Don't you think?
It like 100% is. And I mean, it is kind of an experiment within a, you know, semi-authentic setting. I also, Mike, I like have been wanting to answer your question forever. I keep like going further and further.
Digressing.
But, yes, parents can be different species.
Oh, of course. And that's what I love about this movie, though, is that it does just like, it's such a basic thing, but like it really does like just poke at these questions and go, but in terms of like a microcosm, I think that also comes into play because it's like they're trapped, you know, in this area, like forced to raise this thing that they never asked for, and then they start doing these things to like compensate for it. And I'm like, this is literally just like a lot of other people get trapped in a life, and you know, they don't necessarily ask for a kid, you know, necessarily, but like, you know, I feel like it's such a microcosm of that kind of like life that people fall into, I guess. And how they react to it. Like, do you become the distant person who distracts themselves with meaningless work? Do you try to make the best of it? Do you let it get to you? Do you know?
Yeah, it's all like what your perspective is. And I think in situations like that, you gotta kind of like go with the flow. And like, I think you have to have more moments that are akin to like when they're dancing.
Yeah.
And just like having these really simple, and so, you know, the best things in life, like, or like the simple things are like the most important things in life. And I think that you just kind of have to, I mean, even look at the pandemic and stuff like that. There's so many things that I would have taken for granted before, and now I'm just like, oh, like this is like such a nice thing, and you just kind of have to just like super simple things.
Yeah, because there's lots of even small things that you can't do at the moment that brought you joy. So now it's like you really need to, you know, latch on to those like fleeting moments of like, this is something that's going to bring me happiness and peace and distraction in an increasingly fucking chaotic existence and, you know, precarious, you know, and like I said, not taking
it kind of reminds me, so when I was at MUN still, I did this paper, Nostalgie, which is like nostalgia for East Berlin or East Germany in general. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but and basically because people think of, so basically when they were occupied by the Soviet Union, of course life was very stressful and not the best living conditions, I guess, to say the least, but they had lives besides that, you know. They had private lives, and when the Soviet Union forced to retreat, they lost a lot of those things when it transferred from like communism to capitalism, and they actually didn't want to be capitalistic. They had an idea of a thing that was like called the third way, which is essentialism, but when the more Western countries came in, they completely changed it capitalist, so they lost their entire way of life, and some of those things they miss, right? Like, not everything in life is terrible. So I just think that's interesting. You can find like happy things.
Yes, and I mean, I feel like our choice of this was weirdly timed, because it is
timely.
It's everybody is sort of living a version of what they're living now, in that even surrounded by rows of houses, you have to be like so cut off, and like your existence in a lot of people's cases is your home and almost nothing else.
Yeah,
right. And you have to have those moments when it's like we danced, or, you know, we watched our favorite movie with the youngster or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's kind of frightening. I was watching it and it didn't dawn on me until partway through. I was like, wow, this is sort of like when I was living on my own and I did not see anybody when we were like in kind of the height of our province's lockdown.
Yeah.
You know, I would look out the window and I'm like, I'm surrounded by people. Normally the kids would be out playing on the park and, you know, I don't see anybody barely. There's people out walking sometimes, but it just feels like, you know, I'm in this house by myself and cut off from everything else.
During the height of our lockdown as well, like we have a road. It's not a main street or anything, but it just like a lot of people go like walking, like intentionally walking down it. And I used to just sit in the living room on the couch and just watch people walk by because I was like, this is the closest contact I basically have to anybody besides like the person I do my work with or Rowan. Love you, but like sometimes you just need, you know, human contact.
Well, yes, and she says to him several times, you know, in the movie, the boy, she's like, sometimes you just need to be alone.
Oh, yeah, it's true. But it's also interesting because, like, I watch YouTube a lot, and I watch a lot of people's, like, vlogs or whatever. And people that have kids right now during lockdown, especially, like, if they live in the state, like, I feel kids sometimes because people are, like, and it's no fault to the kids. The kids are fucking, like, bored to death, right? And there's only so much you can do inside. But it's just, like, the kids aren't handling it very well, and it kind of, I think, makes everybody else, like, a little nutty.
I don't know, like, if your mind went there, Mike, but, like, honestly, this kid is gonna turn into a teenager or an adult fairly quick, and then, like, I really thought, I was like, oh shit, what if she, like,
falls in love with him
likes this kid?
Okay, I'm glad that wasn't just me, because when they had that moment where, you know, it showed him imitating everything, and that was obviously very deliberate, like, and you brought it up, you know, the flipping the bird, and he just did it right back to them, and then 3 or 4 minutes later they're just fucking away and he's standing outside watching. I was like, when he becomes a teenager, he's gonna fuck her. Like, that's all I could think about. I was like, they gonna fuck, and it's gonna be a real, like, moral quandary.
Yeah.
We're real quick.
Get into Freud.
Right into Freud. Like, we're just out of the frying pan and into the goddamn Electra, you know, Oedipus fire.
But, yeah, no, I thought, the kid did a pretty good job. Like, 0 acting
I thought the kid
credits.
was creepy as fuck.
This is, like, his only acting credit. I can only imagine how hard it is. Because, I mean, obviously, you know, it was a weird, like, voice dub.
It kind of reminded me of Buffy. Like the hamster in Closet Monster.
Oh, yeah.
How it's, like, dubbed over and the voice almost sounded like...
They definitely had,
similar.
like, a weird effect on it.
Yes, yeah.
And I will say, too, like, I thought, I really liked that we didn't get really huge glimpses. I mean, obviously we knew that this boy, after a while, we know is, like, not human. Especially, like, when he comes home with the book as a child, and...
Yeah, that book, I knew what it said, besides the person that's buffing gills, or, like, puffing gills, and, like, they, like, have a baby that's dropped off.
Well, and we see it, like, all in the book, or whatever, when he brings that book home.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, like, I thought they did a good job where, like, that was really weird.
I love the TV.
Yeah, the TV, which, like...
And it obviously looked like something to him.
Yeah, and I enjoy that there's never an explanation to it. Mm-hmm. Which I think we've talked about a lot of reviews, like, you can over-explain things where it's just kind of like...
It loses its meaning.
Yeah, well, or just its excitement of, like, I have no idea what this is, it's just weird.
Yeah.
And even, like, when she hits him in the face with the pickaxe, like, I like that we got that moment of, like, he's definitely not human, he does, like, the very animalistic, like, he's on all fours.
Fucking weird, like...
But... then we're kind of, once she goes through, you know, that fold and everything, like, then we're, like, to him back to, like, his normal.
Yeah.
Of just being fucking bizarre. Also, I was gonna say, I thought it was kind of funny, all I could think about was, like, Good Foods and HelloFresh and stuff, like the
I know, when they drop it off. Yeah.
And when they open it up, like, me and Xylia get Good Foods, and it's exactly like that.
It
like,
looks just like
everything's
that.
Pre-packaged and, like, vacuum sealed.
I was like, it's like army rations. No offense.
Well, I'm like, I mean, I'm not. It's like I'm not offended at all. It's like the packaging for Good Foods. They basically like take products and put it in their own packaging, and the packaging is like very minimal. It just like has words, basically.
It's like the IKEA for food.
Exactly. Very similar. I know. I thought this is like so IKEA, which is like very suburban, right? And there was a fake plant in the background. I was like, that's from IKEA.
I think this is what everyone that's listening to this episode really wants to get into. I've been waiting for you guys to talk about this house.
I like hate the decor so much. It's just like the most boring house ever. The only thing I like is the muted colors of the like area. They're kind of like pastel-y, but my god, even when I go to Mount Pearl, I like have a panic attack because everything looks so much the same that I get lost and I don't know where the fuck I'm going. So suburbs really make me feel claustrophobic.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, listen, Ro asks this question knowing that we hated it. Knowing that
it's obviously terrible.
The fucking art on the wall was literally the house.
Rowan said, he's like, when we buy a house, can we just have a picture in the living room of the house? Also, the bedroom was a picture of a bedroom.
Honestly, I think that the idea of that is actually kind of fucking iconic. I want to take a picture of my, like, if I had a nice house, or I'd like take a picture of my living room and get it framed and put it up in my bedroom. I actually think I might do that. I think, but like, If it was making a statement or if it was like ironic, that would be amazing. But obviously this was used to be like, this is motel artwork that was, bought at Pier 1 or whatever. Like, does Pier 1 sell artwork? I don't know. We haven't had one forever. But you know what I mean? Like it's supposed to like completely lack identity, and that's the whole point. But it's like, do not get me wrong, I actually quite enjoyed the texture of some of the stuff. Like, I enjoyed the texture of the house, and the shingles on the roof in particular, I don't know why, brought me pleasure. There's something about the visual look of those shingles that I was like, I'd love to slide down those into oblivion, you know what I mean? But everything else, just the squat nature of it, and I'm all for a tiny house. Like, I'm a person who lives alone, and while a great expansive spot is in some cases and in theory like nice, I love a like kind of small, well thought out, aesthetically pleasing space. But this was not an aesthetically pleasing space. It was just obviously the suburban crush, right, of everything crushed together, and your like ass is hanging out over under the fence into the neighbor's backyard. And
if it was done well, like, it would be a cute little house, but yeah, no.
Well, and I think
what about you?
I was gonna say I didn't overly host. I thought it was just boring and ugly. Xylia said I thought the artwork was funny, but I think the word that you just used like really is good to describe. I think the overall like feeling in general, like just claustrophobic, of the suburbs, where I think about if you're listening to Nova Scotia or you've been to Nova Scotia, like I always think about like Sackville, like the Lower Sackville suburb like this, where like you're on a street,
every house,
and when you're in the middle of the street, you don't see either end of the street, and all the houses are duplex, exactly the same,
or like split level.
Yeah, same color, everything's the same. It's like also like usually like same kind of cars, and you're just kind of like, oh my god, like
I think too, like Mike was saying that it was wearing thin, and I think like that is intentional. I think the board, because it's almost like really mundane, like of a movie almost, but I think it's totally
like nothing happens for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So are we okay to come back around and ask some final questions?
Okay. You were gonna say, what the fuck did Jesse Eisenberg die from? Like black lung or something? Yellow lung? Because everything was like yellow in the mountains. Like what happened?
Yeah, I don't really.
I don't know.
And also, if you're like on your deathbed, I don't know, should you be smoking like that?
Or digging.
Well, here's the thing. My one question that I kept asking myself was, where the fuck is he getting the cigarettes? Are they supplying them? Because that ain't the same, right? So whatever, I feel like whatever was in the cigarettes was maybe not of this earth or whatever, so. Yeah, absolutely. Because, it's sort of, this microcosmic like they were sort of compressing a lifetime of suburban ennui and enomi into 4 months, right? So it would be typically like, oh, the father gets sick first because the man, has the lowered life expectancy and is frequently a smoker. And I just feel like they were compressing all that, including the child's growth, into, a shorter amount of time, and then like compressing it and then blowing it up.
Yeah, well, and they didn't even, like, I thought it was interesting too, because, like, we don't even really know, like, why she died. She just
did.
She was just on a bed dying.
Well, and it's interesting that he from whatever, and then the man before him, killed himself.
Yeah.
Why isn't the woman like some weird way?
But is the time and space the same? Like, I just kind of assumed that she was at a different period in their gestation, say, of this child.
See, I saw it as like they were the people that lived there before, and their child was the Martin before this Martin. Like the Martin played.
Oh yeah, and maybe
and
that's well. I mean, and I guess that's the mystery. Like I don't know why I watched it, and I didn't even think of it as the previous ones. I thought that she was just seeing what was happening in these other houses that looked empty, and maybe they couldn't see her. Like, why is there no numbers on the other houses? Like, number 10 can't see number 9, and
the reason I was thinking this is because when Jesse Eisenberg gets to the bottom of the pit, there's the body, and I feel like it was the body of the previous person.
Yeah, well, I think they did a good job explaining that to you, because like Mike, I thought the same thing. I was like, these must be everyone trapped in their own little hells.
Yeah, and you get these brief glimpses into other people's personal hell, right?
Well, and I had kind of thought about it as, especially like as the kid gets older, like he kind of disappears for the day. Mm-hmm. So I had thought maybe what was going on is like he's going into these folds and he's also the child of all these other people trapped in the house, and that's why he's gone all day. Because I also kind of assumed that time different, like obviously different.
Why
in
are
this
there
area.
2 Martins at the end then? Because that's obviously the Martin prior for the prior.
Yeah, that's true. That was an interesting way of looking at it, Ro. I never thought of that. It's like on American Dad when Roger has another family.
Rowan's like, ugh.
That's right. I'm very interesting.
I mean, I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, no, one, I think that's kind of what makes it cool, is that there's so much of it open to interpretation.
Yeah, there's a lot to pick at.
All right, well, let's talk about, is it scary or unsettling? This was your pick. What do you think?
I thought it was unsettling. Like I said before, even driving through the suburbs just like makes me feel so claustrophobic, and I feel like I'm lost, and the whole aspect of just like the mundanity of life, I guess you would. Yeah, I thought it was really unsettling.
I was the same. Like, I don't think there's anything scary. I mean, unless suburbia really scares you, which I think a lot of people it does. Yeah. But it was definitely very unsettling. The cinematography and the colors and just the pacing.
It's like you feel trapped.
Yeah, they did a good job of making you feel trapped. How about you, Mike? What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty unsettling for many of the same reasons. I was surprised by how effective it was at that, because let's face it, at this point when did this come out? 2019? Like, critiquing the kind of like mundanity of suburbia has kind of been rode hard, like just right into the ground. But when it's well done, it's still worth picking at, and I think that it was very well done. And I think giving it that shade of a dystopic sci-fi really helped make it more unsettling, because it kind of like gave it that twist, like a twisted element that isn't present in a lot of other like kind of critiques. Yeah. And I like feel like that, and not going too overboard with it. Like, it was all fairly subtle, this sci-fi like speculative fiction of it all, and I thought that really sort of freshened its eyes, in terms of like looking at the like suburban bullshit and suffocation Yeah, it just gave it was a fresh set of eyes to look at it with, and I found it interesting and unsettling.
Well, with that, let's get into rating it. So our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Mike, let's start with you. What did you think?
I did quite enjoy it, of course, as you may have noticed, and there's a lot to unpack. I'm gonna give it an okay, though, because while there is a lot to unpack, as I did say, it is also a little bit of a played out idea. I don't know, I don't really find myself wanting... I both want to watch it again to see, like, if there's another angle I can tackle it from, which of course there will be. But I also don't want to, because part of its effectiveness was that sort of dragging on and, you know, not having any other characters and not having a whole lot happen. But that also makes it a bit more of a slog of a watch if you were to watch it again, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I watched it once and I enjoyed it. Maybe if it had come out 15 years ago, I would have felt differently. So yeah, I'll give it an okay. But I do, like, I recommend it. I think people should watch it. It was a good movie. But it didn't, like, sort of hammer me in the face, you know, like some other movies do. I didn't find myself getting too excited about it, but I thought it was very well done, so.
All right, I'll go next. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I think I expected, even though I didn't, like I had said before, I didn't really expect anything. I wasn't really sure what it was all about. I thought it was very unsettling, in the kind of style that I enjoy. I think Xylia mentioned it, like, I think if you really like Black Mirror, you would really like this. And I know I saw on DB, someone kind of summed it up good. I was just looking at what other people were kind of reviewing it, and someone said it was a Black Mirror episode without any spice. And I kind of feel like that, although I probably review it higher than that. Like, I think it definitely comes out of that sci-fi, horror, dystopia type thinking. Maybe there could have been, like, a little more to it. Like we said, it was cool to see just these really, like, Durkheimian things thought through, which I think were thought through very well, but I think they also may have tried to introduce other ideas into it that maybe didn't fully get fleshed out, the diversity and maybe even more gendering. I just think they had a lot of ideas of things they could comment on, and they just didn't really accomplish that for everything. So I'm gonna give it a yay, and I would definitely recommend it. I think it's worth one watch. Xylia, what do you think?
I'm gonna also give it a yay. I obviously love anything that you can really, like, take your sociological imagination to, and this is just, like, such a classic sociological case. I think that was my one thing about this when I first finished it, is like, I'm definitely gonna watch it again, because on your first watch you never really get, like, you know, pick up all the details.
Yeah.
But I want to watch it, like, at least another time to kind of, like, dig a little bit deeper, see what else. I liked it. Like, I liked the colors. I thought it was good. I thought it was well done.
2 yays and okay. I think that's pretty fair.
Could be worse.
For this, exactly. Could be way worse. So let's get into our shameless promotion. So just to let you know, go visit Spotify, where we have a playlist, the It Slays Podcast Horrific Playlist. We put music from the movies we review, or music from just movies we love.
Also, I have to say about our playlist, I put on that song from that story. I really was listening to it a bunch of times, and then I had a nightmare last night or yesterday, and it was the song from Leslie Nielsen's house.
So if you want to have nightmares, Spotify, make sure to follow us on all media. It Slays Podcast. Go to Redbubble if you want some merch. We just look up It Slays Podcast. We're there. You can get t-shirts, totes, masks. I was wearing a mask today of the It Slays Podcast. Also go to Patreon if you want to support the show. There's lots of different tiers, get lots of cool things, thank you cards. You can also get merch, t-shirts. You can pick a movie we review. And lastly, go to iTunes, give us a rating, and we will read it on the show, whether it's good or bad. We've done both. So it wasn't that bad. It was like a 3 out of 5.
He said a 3.5.
Appreciate all feedback.
He was just having some constructive criticism, or she, I don't even remember, but.
And I enjoy the honesty, especially because it was just about Mike, really.
I was gonna say, it was all aimed at me, so, like, just chill. We all know I'm very adept at taking criticism.
And also, we just want to thank everyone. When this episode comes out, it will be Sunday, January something. I don't know. It'll be like the 10th or something. And we will be heavily on all our social media into our brackets, because February is our 2-year anniversary. I can't believe
that.
We have been doing this for 2 years.
Is that the paper anniversary? Is it gold? What am I going to expect from you guys? Champagne?
Oh my God. We'll mail you the Christmas presents we bought you, like, within the past 5 years. I have them all, like, wrapped and everything. I just have to take them to the post office. I'm terrible at mailing things.
You will receive them.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so we'll be doing our brackets for you guys to vote, because we announced on all our social that for February you guys get to pick what we review. So we had lots of entries, almost 30 entries, might be 30 by the time this comes out. And the top 2 are gonna be the 2 we review in February. And also keep an eye out, because we are gonna be doing our first giveaway. And I have been working on this giveaway for 2 years.
Since we lived in Toronto.
So I can't tell you exactly what's going to be in it. You got to see when it comes out. I can tell you there's awesome. You're going to get some movies. You're going to get...
Don't tell them. You just
said
you're not going to say what's in it.
That's all I'm giving you. You're going to get lots of stuff.
I'm not telling you what's in it, but this is what's in it.
Yeah, this is what's in it. But lastly, before we get here, we have to get the next pick. And I'm waiting in anticipation, because we do not know what it is. Mike, let us know what we're watching.
Oh, it's my pleasure, dear co-hosts. It is 1978's The Eyes of Laura Mars.
All right. I have not seen this movie, so I'm excited to dig into it. So make sure you watch that for the next episode. And thank you, as always, for the support. We appreciate it. As always, I'm your humble host, Rowan.
This is your other humble host, Xylia.
And it's the not-so-humble one, Mike.
See you later.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
From the prime time, bitch!
Along with the new flesh.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal. We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.